Hey, this is Derek. Ah, this neck beard. So we've all been there. You know, you tune up before a song, you start playing, and the second you start playing, you realize you're out of tune. Tuning is something that we're all aware of. It's one of the first things that you learn whenever you pick up a guitar because it's going to sound terrible if you're not in tune. Some of us learn how to tune by ear, either by fretting the 5th fret. That usually gets you close, but maybe not all the way there. Or by harmonics. That is usually a little bit more reliable. But we all know how to use a tuner. And I don't think we think about it any further than that, but I did. And I think there are a few things that can maybe just get you a little bit closer, keep you in tune for longer, or at least give you some food for thought based on the way that you play. Maybe these could be helpful to you. I'm not gonna hit some of the more obvious things. Tune often, tune fully, don't just go part of the way. Make sure your new strings are stretched, obviously. Don't fret so hard because that will bring you sharp. Make sure you're not bending unless you intend to. Those are all obviously important tips. Those are things that we all know, and that's just kind of, a lot of it comes down to your own touch. But here's some additional things that I think a lot of people may not take into account whenever they are trying to stay in tune. So the first thing is your intonation. Get a setup. If you're never in tune, or if you feel like the further up the neck you go, things just tend to sound off. If you haven't gotten a setup in a while, or ever on your guitar, do it. It's worth it. It's not prohibitively expensive. It's not even that dangerous to do yourself. There's all kinds of stuff on YouTube to teach you how. And so check it out if you want to, or just take it to a luthier, call up your guitar shop, see if they have it, and get a setup. Now the next thing is tuning up to pitch instead of down. Whenever you're tuning, if you are sharp, you're going to want to bring it down past pitch and then bring it back up. That tends to help with tuning stability a little bit. Obviously, if you just have a really good nut, if your nut guy did your nut real well, it may just hold. It's not always a surefire thing. But in general, you tend to have better tuning stability if you will tune up. And if you're sharp, you just go past it, tune down, and then up. So here's my tuner. I just want to show you what I'm talking about here, if you're not sure. So by tuning down, I mean our E here is sharp. You can kind of see that. So right there, I just tuned down to it. What you really want to try and do is go past that. Go flat. And come up. You may or may not see much difference there, but there's a case to be made that it's better for tuning stability. The next thing is to not tune over the pitch. Something that I run into is that whenever I hit the string, it will be the pitch for a little bit, and then it'll gradually go kind of flat and hold that. And so to compensate, it's easy to think, well, I'll just tune it a little bit sharp, and then it'll come down. And while that makes a lot of sense, there are a couple of reasons I don't think that's particularly helpful. First off, you need to take into consideration how hard you play. If you are pretty heavy-handed on your right hand, hand or on your picking hand, odds are you're going to be getting into those sharper registers anyway. And if you tuned in the middle, then you're just going to be sharp. The other thing is that if you're kind of heavy-handed on your left hand, obviously that's something to get over. You don't want to hold the string down any harder than you need to, but you might without even thinking about it. And so it's good to take into consideration that you might be holding it down a little bit too hard and you're going to be bringing yourself sharp anyway. Now maybe you don't. Maybe you have perfect hands and by doing this you're just always going to be flat. There's a good level of knowing yourself in this. And I'm not saying tune way flat. I'm just saying don't go sharp when you tune because your own human imperfections might bring you there anyway. Okay, so with this one, maybe you can kind of see there over time the little indicator fell flat. It's kind of hard to see, but you can see it starts sharp, goes flat. And I think there's a case to be made for saying that instead of starting off sharp of the tone and ending flat, you really want to try and make it so that your peak is spot on rather than going sharp. And if it falls flat, that's okay. Worst case, you can always hold it down harder or bend to bring it up to pitch. There's not really an option mid-playing to bring it down to pitch. Now the next thing is related to this. It is plucking too hard or too soft whenever you tune. Again, whenever you hit it too hard while the tuner's on, you can see it going sharp and then flat. And you gotta kind of know, how are you actually going to play? You should tune the way that you're actually going to play. And if you hit those strings hard, then hit them hard while you're tuning. And if you're more light-handed, then tune that way. Okay, so with this, I'm gonna hit the string hard. You can see it started off sharp, now I'm gonna hit it soft. It's a little on the flat side. I had tuned it to a softer touch, but hitting it harder starts sharp. So you really wanna just know how you're playing. Now, the final thing doesn't apply to fixed bridges like these teles behind me. It's kind of more of a strat thing or just a floating trim thing in general. But that is to tune again after you tune. Go through and check and see if all of the strings are still in tune. If you have a floating trim, they might not be. Because, let's say all of the strings are flat, so you tune them up, you're creating more tension on the string, which is going to pull that trim and it's going to create a little bit of slack. Odds are, whenever you tune them all up, when you go back through, they're all going to be a little bit flat again. Not as flat as they were, but a little bit. And so that's something important to take into consideration as you're tuning. Make sure that after you're done, your strings are still in tune. That applies too if your strings are still pretty new. It takes them a while to stretch out, and so go back and retune if you need to. Okay, so for this last one, I've got my Strat. I'm gonna tune this E up to pitch. And the rest of these strings are flat, so I'm just gonna tune them up real quick. And my trim is floating on this one, and so probably what's going to happen is that our high E is going to be flat again, and really all of our strings are probably going to be a little bit flat. Yep. So in that case, had I just tuned once and thought that I was good, I wouldn't have been. I still would have been flat. So those are a few tuning tips that maybe you've considered, maybe you haven't. I'd be curious to know if I missed anything. Let me know in the comments. Do me a favor and hit that like button. And if you're interested in knowing about some guitar playing techniques and if you're interested in knowing some ways that you might be, and if you're interested in knowing some things that might be holding you back on your guitar playing, check out this video.